Hello, my name is Laura, and I am an Italian tour leader, tour manager. So I thought because this year is going to be quite tricky to do any sort of travel, why not doing some sort of virtual tours just to show you a bit around some of the places that I like most, some of my favorite places. So today I am going to show you the area of the Venetian Lagoon. In Italian we call it Laguna Veneta, and it is situated, well, of course, northeast of Italy. This is where we are. The region where it is situated is the Veneto region, this one approximately. And of course, nowadays it is very, very famous because of the city of Venice, the town of Venice, which is one of the most famous cities in the world. But there are many other small, very nice places and particular places we can see in this area, and it is very particularly interesting also to see how this whole area it has formed. Nowadays it is famous also from a cultural and natural point of view, historical point of view, also because because of this, it has been put on the list of the human patrimony, on the UNESCO list, so that everybody acknowledge, even the UNESCO, how important this area is, basically. So it is very interesting to understand a bit more how this area is formed. It is, of course, a very, very particular area from a naturalistic point of view. And it is also very interesting to see and to know how this area has changed in the centuries, not only because of what the man had to do or what the people had to do, but also because of the nature, meaning that we will see, and I will show you how some rivers literally changed their courses during the history. These things happen many centuries ago, but in some instances also quite recently. Another thing that we can see is that, of course, this is the biggest lagoon area of the whole northern part of the Adriatic Sea, which is the sea that is situated just below Venice, as you can see here. But it is not the only lagoon area. Here, a little bit more northern, there is the Laguna di Marano and Laguna di Grado, which is approximately all a bit of the same area. And this is also a very interesting area from a naturalistic point of view, of course, because there are very particular species, particular animals that cannot be found in other parts, in other ambience, of course. And then, if you go a little bit more southern, we can see this very big green area. It is a bit more of a dark. It's a bit of more of a dark green area, and it is nowadays a super interesting, super nice regional park. It's a naturalistic park of the Delta del Po, meaning of the mouth of the River Po. The River Po is the biggest river of whole Italy, so of course it is a very particular area. And then if we go a bit more southern, so we are still in the highest part of the Adriatic Sea, we can see this area here, which is situated near Comacchio. It is called as Valle di Comacchio. Valle in Italian means literally valley, but of course it's not a valley. It's an area that it's just called like that, but it's a bit of a sort of a lagoon in a way. Anyway, the ambience is also very particular. How can I say, from a naturalistic point of view, it is very particular. So what we can see from the Lagoon of Venice is that there are some big rivers which have the mouth, so the ending of the river, it's not situated too far from the lagoon. And for instance, two major rivers in this sense are for sure the river Piave on the north of the lagoon nowadays, and the river Brenta on the southern part. So, for instance, we have the river Piave here. It's a quite big river. It's not big as the Po, of course, but it comes from the Alps, and it's always had a very it has always been a pretty strong and big river, meaning that there were during the centuries, during its history, there has been a lot of floods and a lot of also quite bad things due to these floods. So quite dangerous river in a way, meaning that over the centuries there's been a lot of work from the man, just to try to control in a way the river and to make it safer, for people to live not too far from the river. Of course, not too close was not also a good idea anyway. Here you can see this big river that nowadays flows along this area, Sant'Anna di Piave and other places. And then nowadays it has its mouth here near Cortellazzo, but here you can see a very strange thing. This it's a bit of a lake in a way. It is nowadays called Laguna de Morta, and it is a very interesting area because here, nowadays, just to show you a bit the area, it is pretty nice. Here, so it's a pretty nice area, but yes, what did I want to say? It's a pretty nice area, but the mouth of the river was going in this way, and then at one point in 1935 there has been a lot of rain, very heavy rain, so hard rain, so much rain that the river really changed its course in itself. The man didn't do anything really. So instead of having the mouth here, instead of ending on the Adriatic Sea here, it moved, the ending of the river naturally moved here. Okay, this is one thing. And then another interesting thing that we can see if we go a bit more northern is that here we have this smaller river which comes out from the river Piave, which is called Piave Vecchia, Fiume Piave Vecchia. Piave Vecchia means in Italian old Piave. Why is it called like that? Because here the Republic of Venice did quite a big job. The Republic of Venice at one point needed to change the course of the river, so it needed the river not to end directly in the lagoon, but to end a bit northern. So this was the ancient course of the river, and it used to go out in the lagoon more or less in this area. So if we zoom out a bit here, we can see it was going directly in the lagoon. So the Republic of Venice needed to change this, and hence the actual river Piave goes on the sea in this area. And then here we can see another intervention of the man in this case on the river Sile. So here the Piave Vecchia goes together with this river here, which is the Taglio di Sile. Now you can see here that this whole line here is very, very straight. So this was again an intervention of the Republic of Venice. The Republic of Venice was possibly one of the most important, if not, one of the most important government for the city of Venice for centuries, till the year 1797, so very, very long time. And here there was another problem. So the river Sile, which is not as big as the Piave, had the course here, so it was going here, as you can see, this looks more like a bit of a natural course of a river, if we can say that. And the mouth of the river was here in this area. Again, much more water going in the lagoon. Now, what the Republic, the main aim of the Republic of Venice was not to have, basically not to have too much water going into the lagoon, because people needed to live there, and it was really starting to be quite dangerous also, because when the river flows, it doesn't bring only water, but also material, various material from up above, from wherever it comes. So they decided in the 17th century to do also this very natural straight canal, which is called Taglio di Sile, and it is actually a very nice area. Well, nowadays it is also a quite important road, this one, because if you arrive at the airport of Venice here, Marco Polo, then you can drive all the way here along this road. And then from here you can reach, for instance, Jesolo, and here where you can see this yellow thing, these are the beaches, and beaches, so very important beachside resorts, basically. Anyway, just to show you a little bit here, because this is a very, very nice area, apart from the important road. So here you are on the main road. You can see on your left quite a lot of fields. So there is nowadays as well quite a bit of agriculture, fortunately, which is pretty good. So there is a lot of green. And then here, you can't see very well here, but here you can see the river, and then then there is this sort of line of earth in a way, and then you have the lagoon, so you can really see a little bit of lagoon as well. So this is actually pretty nice. And actually here, another very interesting thing is that actually on this, now I call this one a line of earth because it's really, really thin, and I've been here actually with a group once on a bike. At the end of a bike tour, we went on this path, and it was amazing, because literally in some parts it was like so thin that you had, so we had on the left here, yes, here on the left the river, and then on the right the lagoon. But here it's pretty wide, but if you can imagine here, like this part here, it was so thin, it was really almost like biking between the water, really, but it was really, really, really nice, really exciting. Then what else I can show you? Well, this you have this whole part, which is still part of the lagoon. Now the lagoon has a pretty big surface. It's about altogether the total surface of the Venetian Lagoon is about 550 square kilometers, which is pretty big if you think about it. But actually of this whole surface, because it's made, basically the most of it is made of water, you have of course many islands, but of this big surface only 8% is made of land, basically. So this is pretty interesting. And also, if you see, it really stretches from up north to the south, so it's a pretty big area. And this whole area here is not very famous, but so it's really nice, really interesting, especially from a naturalistic point of view. Of course, it is famous for some islands. There is the island of Torcello, the island of Burano, which is the famous one for especially for the colored houses. And then you have the island of Murano here, which is very famous for the glass production. So you do have some famous islands nowadays, but apart from those, there are others that are also very nice, like Sant'Erasmo. Sant'Erasmo is huge. It's like one of the biggest islands of the whole Venetian Lagoon, and there are also vineyards and other agricultural products. So there are like fruits that are really produced directly in the island, which is pretty interesting as well. And then you have the two main islands. These as well, I tend to call them like a line of earth because they are like so thin but so long islands. The island of Lido is pretty famous. It's famous mainly for the International Cinema Festival that takes place here once a year, every year. And then you have the island of Pellestrina. The island of Pellestrina is also very, very, very nice, super nice, very quiet, not touristic at all. It's not very known, of course, but it is very nice. And one thing I wanted to show you here is what the structure, that a very particular structure, which is called the Murazzi. Murazzi, and this is very interesting because Murazzi is not even an actual Italian word, it's a Venetian word. It's the dialectal word, which means basically wall, but like big wall, thick wall. These walls here are the Murazzi. And it's very strange because this word is used only to name these walls, basically these very particular walls that you can find here. Because in Italian the word for wall is muro. You can say murone to say a big wall, but Murazzi is only this. So this is very interesting. And this is a very long wall which was built under the Republic of Venice around the 18th century. It's very long and it was built mainly on the island of Pellestrina. To do what? To protect the island from the floods and to protect the lagoon from the floods, because of course if you see here we are, while it continues all the way here, you see it's very, very long, and it's pretty amazing how the wall remained really basically intact. A very interesting thing that you can see is that this very white stone that has been used, this stone is the stone that comes from Istria. Istria is a peninsula in the country of Croatia, which at one point of the history of Venice was under control of the Republic of Venice. It was under the control of the Republic of Venice, and this was possibly the most important, or one of the most important main raw materials that the Republic of Venice needed really to buy from this area. Why this particular stone? Because apart from the fact that it's a pretty nice stone, all white, and it has been used also in other towns of the Republic of Venice, like in a decorative way, but also from a structural point of view, it's a stone that can resist quite well, not only against the floods, against the water, but in particular against the it can resist pretty well against seawater, which is also pretty corrosive. It can, like, if the stone wasn't that good, possibly we wouldn't have seen, the wall wouldn't have resisted for centuries. But here they are. So it seems like it was a pretty good decision. Okay, then another thing, one of the last things I wanted to say, because it's this one is pretty long. This video is starting to be too long. The river Brenta, as I was saying, it was also one of the most important rivers for the origin itself of the Venetian Lagoon. But this as well had a lot, maybe more than Piave, it did had a lot of changes of its courses through the centuries. If you think that the very first, one of the first mouths of the river Brenta was not even here. So you can see nowadays the mouth of the river Brenta is here. So not even the lagoon, it's after, so southern of Chioggia, very nice town, here. So how did it come there? Because the very first mouth, one of the very first mouth was up here, so it's very, very different. And actually, very interesting thing is that it seems like one of his first mouths was near the actual Ponte di Rialto. Now, of course, Rialto Bridge is nowadays possibly the most famous bridge of Venice, and of course one of the most famous symbols of Venice. But the name itself, Rialto, it's not that Italian, it's more Venetian, then it comes more from Venetian dialect more than from Italian, of course. Rialto, it seems that it comes from Rivo Alto. Rivo Alto means literally high river. Now why river? Because it seems like one of the first mouths of the Brenta River was exactly in this point. Yes, so it was here, but then, meaning that at that time, I'm talking about centuries ago, of course, where also the structure of the town of Venice was completely different. And also, the center was not even in Rialto. The center of what Venice was, so to say, was in Malamocco, so much more southern in the island of Lido here. So which was at the time, it was all seems like it was also the port of the town of Padua. And then, because of floods and because possibly also because the location, as you can really understand, of Malamocco was much more difficult than this more central area of Rialto, with the time the location of Malamocco started to lose its importance, and then the center was moved more here. So the Republic of Venice did a lot of works to change the mouth of the river Brenta from this area down to the south. This was done really in stages. It didn't take only one intervention, but then at the end, and you can see here also that this part was possibly more artificial than natural. At the end, they managed to completely change the mouth of the river to have it here. Another, just to end this video, another very interesting thing I wanted to show you is the Forte San Felice, which was part of the how can you say, construction to protect the lagoon from against, well, in this case possibly also against enemies, maybe the Republic of Genova, because we were close to Chioggia, and in the 14th century there's been a quite heavy war between the Republic, the sea, another important sea republic, which was the Republic of Genova, against the Republic of Venice, and it took place really in Chioggia. Anyway, this Forte San Felice, indeed, the first part of this forte means literally castle, basically. As you can see, it's a very, very, can I say, pretty strong structure, pretty strong structure, and what I want to say, the first part of this structure was built apparently except in the 14th century, and then it has been made also a bit bigger. And just wanted just to finish the video, just wanted to show you this pretty amazing picture, and this is also to explain to you, to show you how really in the Lagoon of Venice there is not only Venice. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you soon.